Honestly, even talking about it now, it's giving me goosebumps. Welcome back to the Arsenal Humans podcast with me, Luce. I hope you're all good. I feel like this has been such a good week for Arsenal. Like, I was just going through my notes briefly before I started recording, and I was like, there's so much positivity to talk about. Obviously, I'm talking in terms of the women because they've been playing in the Champions League and the WSL, not even just playing, but excelling in it. I feel like there's such a confident feeling in the air right now towards Slager's side, and I'm hoping it continues into next week. Obviously, the men have been on their international break, and quite a few have actually pulled out of their international duty, to be fair. So we're going to talk about that in a bit, but we've got to start obviously with that Champions League fixture. We won 3-1. I'm going to talk about the actual game itself in a bit, but what I want to focus right now, which I focused on in the warm-up poll, is what does this actually mean for us? Does this mean that we can go into the next game fully confident that we're going to progress into the semi-finals of Champions League, or are we a little bit hesitant thinking it was a pretty tight game and the score didn't reflect that? So I basically just put out the warm-up poll over on the Arsenal Humans Instagram account. So if you didn't for this poll, make sure you go vote for the next week. I do it every single week. So there's always a time that you can get involved. And if you want to get involved right now, obviously comment down below your answer to this warm-up poll, what side you would have gone for. So the poll question was, who will progress to the semi-finals of the Women's Champions League? Arsenal or Chelsea? They're the two options that I'm focusing on because I'm just focused on this quarterfinal. The poll results, no Arsenal bias here whatsoever, but it shows that 100% of you think that Arsenal will progress and 0% think Chelsea. I mean, I feel like there's definitely got to be a bit of Arsenal bias with that one, but I feel like this is the question that everyone's pretty much asking right now. Obviously, yes, that 3-1 win was amazing for us. Potentially, yes, Chelsea should have got another goal because it was disallowed, and that could maybe have changed the course of the game. But I felt like it was such a tight game. I felt like Arsenal came out, we wanted to win. And yeah, I can't wait to talk about that game in detail in a little bit. But the way we've got to see it right now is it's half time. We've still got to win the next game in order for us to solidify that progression. And you know what, for me, as long as Chelsea don't score in the first 20 minutes, I feel like we pretty much are set to go through to the semi-finals of the Champions League. So I'm gonna agree with the majority, as pretty much always. I'll obviously reflect on the first leg in a little bit and then also look ahead to that second leg, which, yeah, I'm going to be at that one. And honestly, I was at the first leg and it was a bit nervy because both sides are so good, and you know that both sides are so clinical, that they were hitting the post, they were finding the net. It was all happening. It was so chaotic. So I'm going to talk about that in a bit. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. Let's look at the whatever the weather section first, because we've got quite a sunny week. I mean, I'm looking outside, it's a bit sunny, it's a bit cloudy, and that is pretty much reflective of the whatever the weather section. So let's talk about that now. We have to. Like, there's no other way to start off the whatever the weather section this week than talking about Kim Little. It's such a sunny headline because we have one more year of Kim Little. One more year. Hopefully extending the same way it did last year. No, I'm only joking. Obviously, we'd love to have Kim Little for about another 10 years. I feel like she is so crucial in this squad. 405 appearances and counting, 177 goals and 1 legendary status. I mean, she's fully earned it. I just feel like every Arsenal fan, I mean, I was looking at my feed on all the stories on Instagram, TikTok, you name it, and everyone was reposting that one video where Kim Little walked out, looked over, this is the North London derby on Saturday, walked out on the pitch with her mascots, obviously family members, looked over, saw the tifo that said leader, legend, Little, and she just went, oh wow. And honestly, even talking about it now, it's giving me goosebumps because you could just tell how much this club means to her. And I think in that moment, she could tell how much she means to the club and to the fan base and to all the players on the pitch. There's so much respect for Kim Little, and I think I could waffle on forever talking about her, but basically Saturday was Kim Little's day. I think it's basically been Kim Little's week. Obviously, they did announce it when they did the live on the Arsenal app, which I feel like is constantly giving the fans what they want. And yeah, I just can't wait to obviously see Kim Little in an Arsenal shirt for another year. She's so crucial in this squad. Like, I don't know what we'd honestly do without her in that midfield. And I feel like her experience in the game is so important as well for this squad, especially when we're getting some youngsters coming through now. Having that leadership and that guidance is so important. And yeah, Kim Little is definitely a fan favourite. So good to hear this news. And honestly, it's been everywhere this week. I think Kim Little has been the player that everyone's been talking about. As you guys will know, though, if you've been tuned into the Arsenal Humans podcast for a while now, you'll know that I'm a huge fan of her. I think right now she's got to be my favourite player because of what she's given the club and how long she's been at the club. Obviously, she took a little break out, but I just feel like constantly we talk about Kim Little on this podcast. I've had so many fans on talking about her, praising her. Honestly, she is such a legend. As the Tifo said, legend, leader, Little. I mean, what else can you say? So yeah, I can't wait to obviously talk about that game in more detail, but I just felt like we had to highlight that moment for Kim Little and that moment for the club because it's such an iconic thing to happen this week. Moving on to slightly more of a cloudy headline, kind of similar to last week's headline, but I think we're up to probably about 10 players now, maybe even 11. Obviously, by the time this video actually goes out, there could be even more. But we've got about 10 or 11 players that have withdrawn from international duty. I feel like there's a lot of praise that's going towards Arteta because he's obviously prioritising the Premier League. He's obviously being able to control as much as he can by saying, I want the players to rest, I want them back at Arsenal training with me. And I think that's so good that Arteta's doing as much as he can in his power to make sure that his squad is fully fit. I know there's going to be a lot of rival fans, and there already has been a lot of rival fans that have been saying that there should be suspensions, there should be punishments for these players, but this isn't something new. I feel like this is something we've seen years and years where you want to put all your eggs in that Premier League basket or focus on basically your club football. And sadly, obviously, with these being friendlies, I feel like the international duty takes the back foot a little bit. But I feel like it's something we see quite often. Whether you think it's morally the right or wrong thing, I'm hoping that it benefits Arsenal. So that's why it's kind of a bit cloudy, because I think it should benefit Arsenal. But obviously, a few of the players that have said they're injured and need to withdraw from their international duty, it's actually because they are injured. So I'm hoping that the ones that actually are injured, it's not too serious. So that's why I can obviously go with a full sunny headline. But hopefully Arteta knows what he's doing and this is the right thing for the club. And the final thing, before we talk about that North London derby win at the weekend, I just want to highlight that 46,123 fans were there to see North London remain red. Honestly, such a good stat to happen. I think it just shows that everyone watches women's football. All eyes are on Arsenal. We're leading the way in so many aspects, not only on the pitch, it seems like with all these wins recently, but also off the pitch because the fans are showing up. And I was one of those lucky fans to be there to witness Russo's hat-trick and another 5-star performance from Arsenal at the Emirates. So yeah, as you can probably tell, I'm so excited to talk about the games. So let's just talk about them now as we look at the two games, the 3-1 win against Chelsea in the Champions League and the 5-2 win in the North London derby at the weekend. Let's talk about those now. Arsenal 3, Chelsea 1. I predicted this actually to be a 3-1 win, so somehow I got it right, because I was, obviously, if you watched last week's episode, you'll know in the prediction section, I was like, you know what, I'm feeling quite confident. I feel like this is a format that suits us, it suits Slagers. We're looking pretty good going into this game. So I was like, with my heart, I want to say it was a 3-1 win, and with my head, I was like, oh, it could even be a 1-1 draw. Like, you never know, but luckily, it went the way of my heart, and it happened. We managed to secure confidence going into the second leg, which I think ultimately is what has happened. We haven't guaranteed ourselves, obviously in the warm-up poll we spoke about it then, haven't actually guaranteed ourselves that spot in the semi-finals just yet, because there's only 2 goals in it and probably should have been even tighter. But we've given ourselves a bit of confidence, a bit of room to work with. And yeah, I'm just super excited. But focusing obviously on this game, yes, VAR controversy sort of overshadowed it. And I feel like, yes, no matter what you think or don't think, I personally believe that one of the disallowed goals for Chelsea should have gone in and should have stood, because it was quite a soft foul. So ultimately it should have been 3-2 to Arsenal, obviously in that Champions League fixture. But I do feel like it could have changed the course of the narrative of the game. But either way, it ended up being 3-1. And I think what people are overlooking is the fact that Arsenal found their net 3 times. It wasn't going to be like, oh, because of the VAR decisions, it meant that it should have been a draw. It was actually, no, Arsenal was still winning anyways. We still had those 3 goals. We still had that lead at that point, obviously, by a couple of goals. And we've obviously got to talk about the goal scorers. We've got Russo extending her lead as the top goal scorer in the Champions League campaign so far. And obviously Chloe Kelly's strike. I mean, not only was it such a beautiful goal, the way it just curled in, but I think what it really showed is when you have that confidence and when you want to take those risks, it can actually pay off. And that's the thing I love from Arsenal right now. And that's why I'm saying there's such confidence in the air, because we're taking those risks and we're having those shots. And obviously it paid off fully in this game. Yes, I don't think that the score actually reflected the performance at all, because I do think it was so tight. I mean, if you just look at the midfield, you had the likes of Little with Nuskin in there for Chelsea. You had LJ, Lauren James in there as well. I mean, they literally hit the post twice in the first 10 minutes, Alyssa Thompson and Lauren James, and it was just insane. So it was a very, very tight game. And I know that they're going to come out firing on Wednesday, because not only are they frustrated with the VAR decisions, but also this is such a big game and there's so much on the line for Chelsea, but also there's a lot on the line for Arsenal as well, because we want to keep that European domination. And you know what, I think overall, looking at this game, it was such a good performance from us. Sitting there in the stands, it was proper whatever the weather energy, because it was chucking it down. But I was like, you know what, I'm just so happy to be here. There was nearly 20,000 people there on a Tuesday night at 8 p.m, which is not bad going considering the weather, the lateness, the fact that it was like obviously midweek, school night, work night. So I'm pretty impressed with how many people showed up, and I feel like it definitely helped the players. Hopefully we can see that on Wednesday, which I'll obviously talk about in a little bit. But yeah, I felt like it was such a positive start to the week. Kind of went how we all wanted it to, all of us Arsenal fans. Obviously I'm assuming that you guys are Arsenal fans watching this right now, but hopefully it can carry on for next week. It did carry on to the weekend anyways, because it was 5-2 in the North London derby. I predicted it to be a 2-0 win, because I thought, you know what, we're going to focus so much on the Champions League on Tuesday and then the following Wednesday that this game bang in the middle will get attention, but not as much as we think. I mean, what was I thinking? We saw 7 goals. Obviously 5 of them came from us. And you know what? Firstly, North London remained red. That's the thing we have to highlight. We keep up that North London domination, and to be fair, right now we're keeping up that London domination, which is so good to see. We had another 5 goals scored at home under Slagers. I feel like she just keeps extending her winning streak in the WSL at home, and yeah, just such a positive feeling. I feel like there's so many times in this episode that I'm probably going to talk about the confidence and the positivity that's at Arsenal right now, especially Slagers side, because I feel like it's literally just oozing out of the stadium, oozing out of the club right now, and it's so good to see, because I feel like, you know how, I mean, this is another debate, but you know how you get a lot of pundits that are like, oh yeah, the crowd's a bit nervy and it can make the players a bit nervy. Whether that is factual or not, I do feel like right now, because there's such a good feel on the pitch, all the fans are very much getting behind the players. They're so positive with it that I feel like it's just benefiting each other. It seems like a very much a win-win situation. Talking about the game itself though, and who actually scored those 5 goals, obviously Russo scored 3 of them. She got a hat-trick, and it was actually crazy because I was wearing my Russo shirt, which I was not expecting her to obviously pull off this performance, because, I mean, recently Russo has become so clinical. I feel like she's always been clinical, don't get me wrong, but we're just seeing her go to a new level. Like, Russo has reached a new level, and in this game it wasn't really a matter of is she going to get a hat-trick. After she got those 2 goals in, I was like, when's she going to get her hat-trick? I was so ready to point at my back, which if any of you follow me on Instagram on luce.case, you'll definitely see that I literally was like, oh my God, like Russo scored. So yeah, it was such a good atmosphere, such a good vibe. And not only did Russo obviously have a great performance, look all the way down the other end of the pitch, DVD was back in the net, which firstly, I don't know if I was just really out of touch with the news, but I was not expecting her to be back for this game. Suddenly looked at the starting 11 and went, wait, that's DVD. I was like, oh my God. And then obviously just having her in the net, I feel like she's quite a similar player to Raya in terms of how it makes a fan feel. Like, it makes me feel at ease knowing that if we play out from the back, she's very good with her feet, she'll be fine. She's very good at distributing. But also, like, if we then passed it back, I feel fully confident. Like, I don't think she's going to lose the ball or make a mistake, if that makes sense. So I have full trust in her. And I mean, I think she just proved why everyone should have full trust in her, obviously as our keeper, because of that save. Like, Bethany Inkling came on the pitch for Spurs, and within a few moments, she did what she does best, and she took a shot at goal, headed it down. And I don't even understand, like, you guys need to go back and watch this, because I don't even think I'm going to do it justice in my description. But she literally headed it to the bottom right, and DVD was basic. It looked like she was nowhere near, and she literally just like jumped and dived, and I think it's arguably one of the best saves I've seen recently in football. And I feel like she's definitely, her and Raya, there's so many similarities. I feel like Arsenal just keep on reinforcing this one club notion, because there's so many similarities between the work ethic, between the drive, but also in individual players as well, because yeah, Raya, DVD, unreal keepers, the best of the best, and it's just so good that they belong to us. It's obviously put us now 3rd in the WSL, so we've gone up from 4th. We're now in the Champions League spot, but obviously we're level on points with Chelsea. We're 2 points behind United. We've got 2 games in hand. We're in a very good position in terms of the WSL. Obviously, yes, if we had maybe this energy at the start of the season, we could have been top right now. But I feel like in terms of all the things that are coming at us and external factors, this is a very good spot for Arsenal, and ultimately just such a positive week. I mean, yeah, I just hope it continues to next week. So you know what? I'm not even going to carry on waffling because I feel like I've said enough positivity about this week. But let's look at the predictions because we've got 3 games coming up. Can't believe we're already at this part of this episode. I feel like I've just been waffling so much, but it's been such a good vibe. Hopefully you guys, when you're watching it, can also tell the vibes at Arsenal are really good, and I feel like, yeah, we're at such a good place right now. Obviously, there's no league games this week, as I just mentioned, because we've got the Women's Champions League at the start of the week. Well, midweek, it's on Wednesday, so tomorrow night. And then we've got the FA Cup weekend because both the men and women's side are in the quarterfinals. So yeah, there's a lot to chat about. But I'm just going to not go into too much detail, but briefly just describe the games that are happening. So we've got the first game, which is Chelsea versus Arsenal. This arguably is the biggest game of the week because it basically could secure us a semi-final spot in the Champions League, which is massive. It's on Wednesday, 8 p.m. It's obviously at Stamford Bridge, and it's the second leg. I feel like this is, it's a really big game. We're obviously going into it with an advantage of 2 goals. And we just need to basically prevent Chelsea from doing what they do best and scoring within the first 15 minutes of a game, because they always come out fighting straight away. So as long as we stop them from scoring then, I think we've basically secured ourselves a semi-final spot in the Champions League. So hopefully this ages well. If I'm going to be specific, I mean, it obviously worked last week in terms of the Champions League. I'm going to predict it to be a 3-2 win. I do think it's going to be really tight. But overall in aggregate, that'll basically mean it's 6-3 to us. Hopefully we can manifest that. I mean, ultimately we just need a draw from this game and then we're through. Obviously, as I just said, we've got an FA Cup weekend for Arsenal. Obviously this Easter weekend. So it's Southampton versus Arsenal on Saturday the 4th of April at 8 p.m. It's another evening kickoff. And this is obviously the quarterfinals. I'm going to straight out just predict it to be a 2-0 win. I feel like Arsenal will progress. We've arguably been given an easier draw in terms of a couple of competitions when we look at the men's side. So I feel like this definitely could happen. And I feel like there's going to be a similar narrative on the Sunday. It's Arsenal versus Brighton, Sunday the 5th of April at 1 p.m. And it's the same. It's the quarterfinals of the FA Cup. I feel like this is an interesting game though. I do think it's going to be a 2-0 win, same as the men's, and that would progress into the semi-finals of the FA Cup. But we haven't actually played Brighton recently because our UWCL game got cancelled. So I feel like this will be quite interesting to see how it goes. They've obviously had a decent form recently. I mean, they actually were drawing with Chelsea a few weeks back for majority of the game, and then obviously Chelsea managed to find the win, making it 2-1. But I do feel like they've won quite a few of their recent games, but so have Arsenal, so I'm going in with full confidence. And when you look at the league table, when you look at the different competitions we're competing in, and you look at the players, like I was just saying before, the players we have at Arsenal, I think it should be a 2-0 win at least. So I'm going to predict it to be 3 wins in the 3 games coming up. Obviously, let me know down in the comments below what you think is going to happen this week, and also reflect on the last week, because I feel like when these weeks happen, we need to really dwell on it and look at it as such a positive vibe, because honestly, it's so good. But yeah, that's basically all from me now. I'm going to stop waffling.